War is the apex consumer. It gathers everything to itself. First to go are bodies, but soon after it recruits human systems of organization, as well as useful tools like science, math and technology, and other ways of knowing. Nothing escapes its reach and grasp, not philosophy or music, not ballet, opera or poetry. Of all the things caught and made fat by war, the graphic arts, design, fine art, illustration, posters, banners, badges, textile patterns, are some of the earliest to be seized. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, graphic forms, once mostly static, were extended by new media like film and animation, and both were immediately bent to war's purpose. This book is about the convergence of the graphic arts, two Western cultures, Germany and the United States, and modernism. It is about the ways in which both countries engaged in a war of images against each other, the surrounding world, and their own people. At the heart of the book is the point that, for all that human beings complain about war, we also make it attractive enough that we compulsively return to, fetishize, and fantasize about it. Industrial war of the kind seen from the late 19th century to the present day is, by most accounts, a horrific affair. Yet we have also dedicated ourselves to making it intriguing and compelling, to creating war which, even in its dreadfulness, is gorgeous. This book doesn't seek to take the lustre off war, but instead to focus on it, to determine why and how we make war gorgeous. Bringing a nation into a war is hard work, particularly if there has been no overt attack on the homeland. Such an assault, particularly if it's a surprise, can mobilize the population reasonably quickly. But to take a peacetime society and convert it into one bent on making, sustaining and winning a war requires the state's full resources and energy. Governments, the media and historians speak about going to war, but arguably it is more of a process of coming to it. The whole state apparatus must labour to bring a people to war and then work even harder to keep them there. Apparently endless slaughters like the First or Second World Wars require that societies, democratic or not, enlist all manner of lies and coercion to sell the war. Not only will governments have to make the case for war, but every other quasi-governmental authority, religion, junior and senior education, branches of media, medicine, science and engineering, sports and entertainment organizations, social groups and clubs, the whole of the law enforcement structure, including police, courts and prisons, must support the argument. Most of all, the war must be backed by business and must employ business methods. Information will have to be managed so that sufficient outrage at the enemy can be manufactured, enough that people are prepared to go away and fight strangers they don't know in places of which they've never heard. Those who stay at home will have to sacrifice materials necessary for the war. The state is the new prime consumer of energy, raw and manufactured material, foodstuffs and labour. Civilians will just have to wait. Lack of steel will prevent new cars from being made, and anyway, there won't be sufficient gas for their tanks. Oils, fats, sugars and solvents will be drained out of the public pantry for use in the manufacture of chemicals, explosives and weapons. Everywhere people will be asked, coerced or simply forced to surrender their bodies and goods in exchange for the political ideas the government advances. Those ideas have to be communicated forcefully, convincingly. It's become common to call such communication propaganda. That is, the deliberate curation and turning of information against another group or groups in order to harm them. Propaganda, the conversion of any possible piece of information or its representation in any form, still or moving images, sounds, radio transmissions, songs, printed text, textiles like clothing, caps, armbands, flags, jewellery, into an argument for an official political point of view, employs all possible media without observing any rules of conduct.